Thank you very much, councillors, the General Manager, members of senior staff, the gallery, the clergy and the press. A warm welcome to you and declare open the Temora Shire Council meeting for November. And in declaring the meeting open, I advise that this meeting is being recorded and will be placed on Temora Shire Council's webpage for public information, and all present today are reminded that whilst we are speaking, that we're agreeing that our views and comments are being recorded and published, and we're also reminded that if or when we are speaking, we're of course to be respectful to others and use the appropriate language. And Temora Shire Council accepts no liability for any defamatory or offensive remarks or gestures during this council meeting. Thank you. Now we proceed to our acknowledgement of country. As we begin our meeting today, Temora Shire councillors, our senior staff and I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of Temora Shire's land and waters, the Wiradjuri people. We pay our heartfelt respects to their elders, both past and present, acknowledging the role they have and will continue to play as members of our Temora Shire community, a special place we all proudly call home. Thank you very much. We now go to our opening prayer, and we welcome to the chamber Auxiliary Lieutenant Caleb Smith. Please lead us in our opening prayer. Thank you.
Heavenly Father, thank you for this meeting, for this place, for this Shire, and all those gathered here today. Please bless the decisions that are made here, be they large or small. And thank you also, dear God, for this meeting, for the fact that we live in a country where we elect our leaders, where these meetings occur in public with the press and regular citizens in attendance. Help us never to take our country, our democracy, our freedoms for granted. And dear God, also, as we come into summer, we pray for a good harvest, for clear skies and dry ground. And we pray most of all, dear God, for safety on our farms, our roads, our silos. In Jesus' name we pray with great thankfulness. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very, very much. That's always lovely words to start. Now, we have any apologies, please? I know Councillor Bush will understand is going to be a little late, and I'm sure Councillor Good won't be too far away. Any declaration of any interest?
Excuse me.
The Director of Administration and Finance?
The Engineering Works Manager is an apology.
Thank you. So the Engineering Works Manager is an apology. Is someone prepared to move that it be approved? Thank you, Councillor Judd. Councillor Reinhold. Moved and seconded. All those of that opinion, please say aye. On the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you. Any declaration of any interest at this time, please? Councillor Oliver.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a non-pecuniary interest in confidential, which I'll leave the room, I think. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Oliver. The Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair.
Thanks, Mayor. I have a non-pecuniary interest in the Economic Development Report, item 4.1. The author is a relation.
Thank you. I have one on page 514, 16.2, the Murrumbidgee Local Health District Excellence Award Sponsorship. I'm the chairman of the Temora Local Hospital Advisory Council, who were appointed by Murrumbidgee, so I will vacate the chair and the chamber for that consideration. No further declarations at this time. You can do it a little later if you don't think of it now. Now we go to, pardon me, public presentations, and today, councillors, we do have a public presentation, and that is our auditor, Mr. Brad Bowen from Crow. Oh. So, well, we'll just hold fire, councillors, on the presentation because they're not at the ready. So let's now go to confirmation of the previous minutes for October council meeting, please. Is someone prepared to move that they be received as a true and correct record? Thank you, Councillor McLaren. Councillor Judd, thank you. Moved and seconded. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you. Madam General Manager, any matters arising?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, no, there isn't.
Thank you. Councillor Bushell, welcome. That's all right. You did let us know that you're going to be a few moments late. Councillors, we'll now proceed to the Merrill Minute, of which you have a hard copy on your desks. And number 1, law and order. On the 19th of October 2023, the Country Mayors Association of New South Wales, CMA, supported by the Police Association of New South Wales and the CWA, launched the CMA report into crime, law and order in regional communities. The recommendations within the report call for the establishment of a parliamentary inquiry, an increase in funding to enhance frontline policing in regional communities in need, the establishment of first response agreements in all police stations, and that the formula used to determine the first response agreements in those stations with agreements are reviewed. The report also calls for bipartisan support from all state MPs and MLCs. The CMA has joined forces with the Police Association of New South Wales and the Country Women's Association to call for a parliamentary inquiry into crime, law and order in regional New South Wales. Our CMA Chairman, Mayor Jamie Chaffey, said statistics showed residents of rural, regional, remote New South Wales were more likely to be sexually assaulted, more likely to have their cars stolen, more likely to have their homes broken into, and more likely to be impacted by domestic violence. When these crimes did occur, the police response was delayed due to the resources available. It is estimated 1/3 of New South Wales population live outside metropolitan areas, Mayor Chaffey has said, pardon me, but we are all still second-class citizens when it comes to the safety of our communities. For the first time, our CMA annual survey has revealed that crime, law and order is now in the top 5 emerging issues for New South Wales rural and regional local government areas. We knew crime was increasing, but we looked to the New South Wales Bureau of Crime Statistics and Research data to clarify the situation. We were shocked to learn that as well as the alarming incident counts in regional New South Wales, the rate of incidents per 100,000 people was in some cases horrifying when compared to metropolitan figures. Up to 90% of crimes, including vehicle theft, breaking and entering, sexual assault and domestic violence, are happening here in our regional communities, Mayor Chaffey added. We also have significantly fewer police than our city cousins, and as a whole, New South Wales has less police per head of population than Queensland, Victoria and South Australia. Our police officers are already facing an incredible workload, with only 1 police officer per 467 New South Wales residents. We have not been heard by our state leaders, and our people, particularly the elderly and the vulnerable, are scared. They need to feel safe and they deserve to feel safe. In this Country Mayors Association New South Wales report, endorsed by the Police Association of New South Wales and the Country Women's Association, are calling for change. The report paints a very clear picture of a law and order crisis in some of our regional communities. Our already stretched police officers cannot continue to try to address this impossible challenge alone, Mayor Chaffey concluded. Following the success of the parliamentary inquiry into health outcomes and access to health services in regional New South Wales that was established in 2020, we know the only way forward is to seek the bipartisan support of our state members of parliament to commit to this inquiry. The health inquiry saw 15 public hearings across New South Wales and heard one heartbreaking story after another about the level of inequity and the lack of care in some of our regional communities. It came up with 22 findings and 44 recommendations to bring about the changes needed. This is what we need to make a difference in crime, law and order in our regional, rural and remote communities. We need a bold, hard look at everything from police numbers to the experiences of people who have suffered at the hands of inequity. We need a clear way forward. Temora Shire is fortunate to have a full complement of police officers at present, and they're doing a very good job. However, there are many rural and regional New South Wales communities that have not. I have had a meeting with the Riverina Police District Commander, Superintendent Andrew Splight and Inspector Justin Faulkner to make them aware of this statewide campaign. And number 2, Councillor Nigel Judd. And it's great to acknowledge his wife, Mrs. Helen Judd, in the chamber in the gallery this afternoon. Councillor Judd was recently bestowed the highest honour that a New South Wales councillor can receive from Local Government New South Wales, that being a Lifetime Achievement in Local Government Award. And you'll see this exquisite presentation that was given to Councillor Judd sitting just below my desk. Very, very impressive. Since Temora Shire Council's inception in 1981, Councillor Judd has served as a former mayor, deputy mayor and councillor. Prior to this, he was a councillor on the former Narrabri Shire Council from 1977. Councillor Judd has achieved a significant amount during his 46 years in local government. Councillor Judd is the longest serving councillor in New South Wales according to current LG and SW records. The rare and prestigious award that Councillor Judd received was presented by LG and SW President Councillor Daria Turley AM at the annual gala dinner held on the 13th of November, which Mrs Helen Judd, the General Manager, Ms Boxall and I were honoured to have been present at. Councillor Judd received his award alongside another local government stalwart in Councillor Ken Keith OAM, the long-serving former Mayor of Parkes Shire. I formally place on record Council's warm congratulations to Councillor Nigel Ashley Judd OAM on the honour thus conferred. And please join me in putting your hands together for Councillor Judd. Now, I know Councillor Judd gets embarrassed with this sort of thing, but you have earned these accolades, Councillor Judd, and I'd invite you to speak briefly. Thank you.
Briefly.
We've got a big paper.
Thank you, Mayor Rick, councillors, senior staff in the gallery. It certainly was an honour and a privilege to receive this award at the Local Government Conference. Being so long in council, really only this year probably it's dawned on me just how long I've been here, and probably the dinner earlier this year has made us reflect on what's happened. But this award was a great honour to go down to Sydney and being presented in front of probably 800 delegates, and it certainly was a great privilege. Now, there's a bit of a story behind how I went on, but as you know, I'm a conscientious councillor, so I timed my knee replacement surgery to the morning after the last council meeting. So I come to council, go to tea, and 5:30 next morning, Helen and I in the car heading for Wagga to have a knee replacement. So that was at Calvary, and anyway, things went okay for the first 9 or 10 days, and I was in rehab, and anyway, about to send me home, and then one of the doctors noticed I had looked like I might have in a bit of internal bleeding. So fortunately I went home, and that's what happened. I had internal bleeding for the week. I got a number of haematomas in the muscles and the leg, and after a while they got me back in Wagga to stop the bleeding, and anyway, things gradually got better again. And I mentioned to the doctors, I said, "Oh, I've sort of got a. I hope I was getting down to Sydney on Monday night or something." And anyway, once I told them what it could be, and I said, "Oh no, we'll make sure you get there." So they got me organised, out of hospital, got me to ride the drugs to keep me going for the day, and anyway, I got down, and I must commend Rex Airlines as well. But luckily, probably went down in the afternoon flights down and back, that were able to have 2 seats myself to put my leg across, and they were able to have lift machines to get in and out of the plane, wheelchairs, cars and everything else, top service, and luckily I was able to get taxis then from the airport to the hotel, and I thank Mayor and General Manager for organising with the Local Government New South Wales staff to make sure it was easy enough for me to get up on the stage and that. So that was a bit of a story just to get there. I did pay for it for a few days afterwards, but it was worth it. So thanks, Rick and Mel and all councillors for the privilege. It's a great honour to be nominated. Must also thank Councillor Larry Turley and Local Government New South Wales for conferring the honour on me. It's one thing we didn't realise until last year, that I had been around long enough to be outlive or outperform or whatever any other councillor. So so it's a great honour, and it's certainly a great presentation I made, and I'm very proud of it. Anyway, and I must also thank my wife Helen. She's been putting up with me for 46 odd years. We're coming up to our golden wedding in a few months' time, and so really in all that time I've been on council. So, as I said at previous, I think Helen and my family sort of deserve a long service award as well. Anyway, thanks, Mr. Mayor, and I really appreciate the award and the words said. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Judd, and all thoroughly deserved. And I know it was particularly special for you to receive it beside your long-time friend in local government, Councillor Ken Keith, as well. It was just a special privilege for us to have been present to witness, and never seen a dinner crowd like it. It was fantastic. So, thank you very much. Councillors, there is a recommendation there for Council to consider that Council endorse the following recommendation listed in the CMA report to Crime, Law and Order. Writes to our State Member for Cootamundra, Ms Cook, to support the establishment of a parliamentary inquiry with the suggested terms of reference in the document. That Council call on members and MLCs of New South Wales Parliament to commit to bipartisan support to establish parliamentary inquiry into and report on the rate of crime in all categories reported by the Bureau of Crime Statistical and Research in rural, regional, remote New South Wales, specifically focusing on the inequity between metro and regional local government areas. 2, that Temora Shire Council calls on all members of the New South Wales Parliament to commit to bipartisan support to increase spending on the New South Wales Police Force to increase frontline policing numbers in rural, regional and remote regions most at need. 3, Temora Shire Council call on the New South Wales Government to commit to the minimum staffing agreements known in the New South Wales Police Force as first response agreements for non-24-hour police stations, all of which are located in rural, regional and remote local government areas. And finally, that Temora Shire Council calls on the New South Wales Government to review the current formula used to assess staffing levels, including the universally agreed outdated current model for those local government areas that do have a first response agreement in place. Thank you. Councillor Oliver.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I fully support every one of these recommendations. I think we've got to get on top of the law and order problem in this country and give it the utmost that we possibly can. And while I've got the mic, I'd like to officially congratulate Councillor Judd on his award. Good on you, Nigel. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Oliver. So you're moving. Thank you. Seconder. Thank you, Councillor Good. Councillor Good.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A vital part of law and order, and quite often overlooked by most people, particularly the government, is courts. A lot of people don't realise that recently Wagga generally has 2 magistrates. Temora is on the Young Circuit, and we have 1 magistrate that travels around the area. Wagga had a magistrate who retired, and they weren't replaced. So the magistrate from the Young Circuit has lost a week on the Young Circuit and is going to Wagga. This has blown out hearing times. We've got one at the moment that will be, from the date it was set down to hearing, it will be 12 months. And that's because of lack of magistrates. So I would like, with the mover's permission, to add an additional point there, that the Temora Shire Council calls on all members of Parliament to commit to bipartisan support to increase the number of local court magistrates in rural and regional and remote local government areas.
Thank you. I'll accept that, Councillor Good. Thank you. Councillor Oliver, you happy to include that? Moved and seconded. Further discussion? Again, noting, councillors, that we have spoken to the superintendent and the inspector, and they realise that, you know, currently we're very blessed, but there's many that are not as fortunate as we are. So if no further discussion, I'll put the motion. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare that carried. And I really thank you very much, councillors, for that unanimous support. Councillors, we now go back to our public presentation, and that is our auditors from Crowe. So we have Mr. Brad Bowen, and we have Mr. Wee So from the Audit Office. So we bid you a warm welcome, gentlemen, via Zoom. And of course, we'll be considering our financial reports later in the meeting, but we'd be very happy to hear. Who's the spokesman? Is it Mr. Bowen?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity to jump into council in this format. The purpose of today is to just confirm the outcome of the audit as concluded, and take any questions from councillors pertaining to that. As a quick summary of key factors, council has a 30 June balance date, and the statutory deadline for submission of your financial statements with the Office of Local Government is the end of October. Temora Shire achieved that. You lodged your financial statements on the 30th of October. There are something like 120 odd councils in the state of New South Wales, and for June 23, only about half achieved that. So a real feather in your cap that from a project management perspective, you were able to deliver the audit and get it done and lodged before the end of October. So congratulations to Elizabeth and her team for that outcome. The audit report, council receives two. One is one that follows the auditing standard, which lands on a true and fair outcome, and the other one is a conduct report, a report on the conduct of the affairs of the audit for the year. In terms of the statutory audit opinion, it contains a qualification regarding RFS assets. Now, this qualification is the same as what was there in 22. Council's stance hasn't changed around its perspective on control of those assets, and neither has the on-balance perspective of the Audit Office. So what we've done in terms of the audit opinion is to say that the financial statements of council are true and fair, except for the item as it pertains to RFS, and this has been played out in a series of conversations and interactions. There are several councils in New South Wales in the same scenario as Temora, where the assets haven't been brought on the balance sheet, and the resulting implication is the qualification to the audit opinion. So fundamentally on that one, until there is a adjustment to the legislation, it's likely that this status quo will remain.
So you're aware, Mr. Bowen, that Temora Shire Council stands by our decision by way of resolution not to declare those assets, and that's a very firm position that we have.
Yes, Mayor, yes.
Yeah.
So as part of the understanding of the events for the 30 June year, we were provided a copy of the motion, and we fully understand the perspective of council, and really in terms of an item, it was sort of concluded really in my understanding in the prior year, and this year it's a case of the status quo continuing with no new information coming forward on either side. The status from the 22 year rolls forward to 23.
Yeah.
Fully appreciate council has moved a motion in that regard.
Thank you.
In terms of the financial performance for the year, not-for-profit entities are a little bit hard to get your head around sometimes. We've got a couple of things at play there. One of them is the revenue accounting standards, where in a lot of instances, revenue is income upon receipt. And an interesting item there for council is your FAG grant. they're in advance. They were at the end of 22, 75% in advance, and that was escalated through 23 to now being 100% in advance. So what happens there, as those financial assistance grant monies are received, council books them as income but hasn't done any of the expenses relating to that. So at some future point in time, council has an obligation to execute 100% or 365 days worth of financial assistance grant maintenance without any income coming in. And that's where restrictions come into play, which are covered a little bit later in the conduct report. In addition to that, council is at the mercy of weather events, and there was some flooding in the back end of 22, early 23 period, which feeds through again as income and not necessarily has all the expenditure taking place in relation to that. So you get this mismatch, and it becomes very hard to necessarily see with direct line of sight what is a surplus or a deficit performance. But for 22, consistent with 23, council has an element of consistency in its performance year on year, but because of the change in that FAG funding, the disaster funding, we need to understand the different elements of that bridge to the final landing point. Council has very little debt relative to its size, so from a cash flow perspective, really what we do is have grants and rates on an income perspective, and then we have expenses in terms of, usually it's infrastructure, property, plant, and equipment renewal. You have something of a road network to maintain, along with some other community building assets. And council also has, in terms of expenses, depreciation being the next largest item. The financial position of council is such that you've got a balance at 30 June of around 27 million in cash and cash equivalents, and it has some restrictions around it. Externally restricted in most councils is water and sewer funds. Council's proximity to Golden Fields means that predominantly it's a sewer fund outcome for Temora Shire. And then from an internal restriction perspective, this is where we see plant replacement reserves, employee leave reserves, and the financial assistance grant outcome. But pleasingly, the total balance minus external restrictions and internal allocations, council still left in a positive cash position. So that's a test of our solvency and your ability to pay your debts as and when they fall due. And it's pleasing to report that council has the ability to do that. The conduct report concludes with a series of those T Corp Fit for the Future ratios, which sit down the back of your annual financial statements. Council performs quite admirably here, being a rural council. You pass all but one, and one is the measure around own source funding. The benchmark is set at a flat 60% across all councils in the state, and your council has very little user pays activity. So thinking of capital city scenario, things like car parking are a source of revenue from the council. Your council does generate a range of income from grants, so it achieves a surplus from operations. You've got very tidy measures from your rate payers in terms of paying their rates and annual charges on time. You've got sufficient cash to pay your debts as and when they fall due. The one measure where we drift below the benchmark is own source funding. And it's a step below, but Mayor, I give you some comfort in the fact that a lot of your neighbouring councils are in the same scenario, and your performance is somewhat consistent year on year. Hong was very kind and signed out the audit opinions on that basis just prior to the end of the month. The only item of legislative non-compliance we called out was the RFS item, and the financials were lodged with the Office of Local Government on that basis.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Mr. Bowen. And to you, Mr. Wee Sao, it's great that you've made time to address council on this important issue. And I think you'd agree with this gentleman that we have an outstanding Director of Administration and Finance and team that work under her, and I'm sure you'd agree with those sentiments. I'm hoping you do.
Don't misinterpret our silence. If I knew how to work the effects, I would have done it. It's not in my, it's above my pay grade.
You left me hanging. Right. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Councillors, comments or questions from our auditors, please, if any. Fairly comprehensive. So, councillors, you've got councillors happy. That's a very big achievement. Thank you very much, gentlemen. If there's no further comments or questions, we thank you, gentlemen, for the role that you play. I know that our director speaks very highly of your team, and thank you very much for the respect you give to Temora Shire, and particularly in relation to our strong position about these RFS assets, and hopefully there'll be a suitable resolution in the coming months and years ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks, Elizabeth. Thanks, Melissa.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Very diplomatic. Thank you very much, councillors. Councillors, now we will start our War and Peace, our business papers, which are very large, and in light of that, for this month, what I'm wishing to do is during, if there's any debate on any issues, that we speak the once. That's what we're hoping to keep the meeting rolling. So if that's comfortable with council, we can give that a try to keep things rolling. So I do thank you very much for that. So let's go to our business paper, councillors, and we will get through it. Page 10 of your white papers, the minutes of the Temora Agriculture Innovation Centre Partnership Committee, and the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair, is the chairman.
Mr Mayor, I'll move the report be received.
Thank you. The Deputy Mayor's moved the report is received. Is there a seconder for that? Thank you, Councillor Judd. Moved and seconded. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you. Mr Deputy Mayor, do you have any items you wish to highlight?
No, they're basically reports on general reports to be noted.
Thank you. Councillors, you have the report there for you to consider. Is there a mover to adopt the report and its recommendations, or is there an alternate? Councillor Good?
I'll move that report.
Thank you. Councillor Good has moved that way. Is there a seconder, please? Thank you. The Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair. Moved, seconded, discussion. There's no further discussion. I'll put the motion. All those of that opinion, please say aye. The contrary, no. Declare that carried. Thank you. And councillors, by the way, dinner this evening is in-house. So that's for your information. I understand there's some health-conscious pizzas or something. So thank you. Now, page 23, minutes of the Temora Shire Council's Traffic Committee meeting. I'm the chairman of that committee. Someone prepared to move that report is received. Thank you, Councillor Good. Councillor Oliver, moved and seconded. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you. Councillors, we spent quite a bit of time. It's probably the longest meeting that I can remember, and I've been on it for a long time, that we've had. However, you'll note there that the several reports and the recommendations that we've considered, and we went through item by item, and I thought that was most worthwhile. So, councillors, you have the report and recommendations from the Temora Traffic Committee. Anybody would like to move that report and the recommendation be adopted, or is there an alternate? Councillor Oliver?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just a few items that may concern Councillor Judd with the area park submissions. The first one was about the speed. The police that were present were of the opinion that they wouldn't obey the 40km/h speed zone because they're not obeying the 50 anyway, so they're going to increase their presence out there and probably throw the book at the offenders. And the other one was the compression braking. Greg Minehan from Transport for New South Wales didn't advocate the signage due to the modern vehicles having what they call retarders in them now, which don't make a noise through the exhaust system. I have one fitted on the school bus. It's a late model, and they there's no noise at all, and there's there's varying stages how they work. I can't explain it, but they work as well as any other braking system. So that just to clarify that for Councillor Judd's information.
Thank you, Councillor Oliver. Councillor, you have the report and recommendations there. Is someone prepared to move their adoption, or is there an alternate motion? Councillor Good, you'll move the report and recommendations be adopted from the Traffic Committee. Seconder for the motion. Thank you, Councillor Oliver. Moved and seconded. Further discussion? There's further discussion. Councillor Irvine.
There was a lot of comment around bus zones and school zones and things in the Loftus Street area. I think council just need to be mindful of the future development that's occurring out to the east of town, and how important an arterial road Loftus Street is for delivery of all that residential traffic into the CBD and to the schools and to those other areas. So I just hope that council keep in mind any of those high traffic uses when 40k zones and stuff are considering being extended in those areas.
Yeah, no, thanks very much, Councillor Irvine. So, councillors, there's no further discussion. I'll put the motion to you. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare that carried. Thank you. Let's go to page 150 to 154. The minutes of the Assets and Operations Committee report. I was the chairman on that day in the absence of the Deputy Mayor. Is someone prepared to move that the Assets and Operations Committee report be received? Thank you, Councillor Good. Councillor McLaren moved and seconded. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Councillors, you'll see there's a whole range of issues there that were considered by that Assets and Operations Committee, and they are, of course, listed in the minutes. Councillor Oliver.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. Item 4.8, I'm sorry to be harping on this again, but my feelings are known pretty far and wide about
So
this.
4.8, 234.
234, yes. I noticed on the news this morning that one council in South Australia has ceased acknowledgement of country, and their rationale was that we are one country. This is what Jacinta Namachi Price championed all the way through the voice vote, and at least they're respecting the view of the nation, where the 60% of the people voted against division. And I'm not sure whether I can move an amendment to this at this stage or not, but if I could, I would move an amendment that we cease acknowledgement of country also. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry, Councillor Judd, we won't be able to accept that. What did I say? Oh, sorry. Sorry. I beg your pardon, Councillor Oliver, but thank you. Look, Councillor Oliver, we certainly have noted your comments, and as we've all had our say at the committee day, that there's certainly many that would agree with you, and I've certainly expressed that support. However, as you have and I have and others, that we accept democracy, and of course we're doing our best to implement the majority decision of council. So thank you, Councillor Oliver.
Well, if I may say so, this is my second turn at this. I don't think we are respecting democracy. The people have spoken in the referendum. 60% of the nation's people said no. So
thank you. I'm probably
anyway, thank you. I won't go on anymore.
Thank you, Councillor Oliver. I just am trying to be, where possible, strict with the one comment, one councillor, just for this evening's meeting. I go to Councillor Councillor Irvine in discussion on the Assets and Operations Committee paper. Discussion of the motion. Councillor Irvine.
On the same matter, on 4.8, I just wonder if the authors would consider shortening it up a little bit more, and perhaps doing away with the section after the second hyphen, and finish it off with just both past and present.
Well, I certainly would be dead set against it, and we've teased this out at the committee level at length. But it's a matter for council. Councillor Reinhold.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to have a quick little discussion on 4.2, the village library services.
Yep.
I was just wondering if the new proprietor of the post office at Area Park might be interested in having a small section of her area as the library, that maybe books could be renewed every fortnight, save having the van and the cost of all of that. It might help her with traffic in her business as well.
Thank you, Councillor Reinhold. Before I go to the Director of Administration and Finance, Councillor Judd, do you have...
I just declare an interest if that has been raised.
Thank you. The interest is noted, and I'm going to the Director of Administration and Finance.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So in response to Councillor Reinhold's comment, we didn't actually go down the path of approaching existing businesses or staking out potential premises. So we just costed out the library-specific infrastructure that would be required to set up a fixed library at Area Park, and those costs came to close to $130,000. We didn't pursue it any further than that, given those costs. And
Thank you, Councillor Reinhold. Councillor Judd, discussion on the motion that is adopting the reports and recommendations of the Assets and Operations Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Still on the village library. The motion, I think I raised it at committee level, but I would have liked to have seen some survey or response on how the mobile library service to Area Park is going, and maybe that would influence us whether we could sometime in the future afford a second or one weekly service. But I think we need some feedback and surveying to justify or not justify that action, please.
Thanks, Councillor Judd. Perhaps that could be part of the recommendation. If does the General Manager Director think, as far as if it's adopted, that consider the inclusion of low-cost options, when could that be encompassing, or would we need to tease it out more specifically? General Manager?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we can make note of that in terms of further considerations, but I'm happy to have that as a recommendation for us to take away as well.
By way of motion, separate, yeah.
By way of a motion, if that's required, but we will make a note of that in terms of feedback.
Okay, so Councillor Judd, are you happy that that's noted at this time, and Council are aware of what you've said, and there's nods in the chamber, so the General Manager's aware that Council would like to see that considered. Thank you. So there being no further discussion, and that is to adopt the recommendations and the reports of the Assets and Operations Committee. Councillor, so you've already moved that. Councillor Good, Councillor McLaren, discussion on the motion to adopt. We're on a roll. So if there's no further discussion.
that was receiving reports.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, well, there you go. I had it written down as... So, is there a motion? Thank you, Councillor Good. Councillor Reinhold, moving the Assets and Operations Committee report and recommendations be adopted. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Well, there you go. Thank you very much. Let's now proceed, councillors, over to page 246, the Economic Development Visitations Committee report, and Councillor McLaren is the chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to move the report be received.
Thank you. Councillor McLaren's moved the report's received. Seconded, Councillor Bushell. Moved and seconded. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you. Councillor McLaren, any items you wish to highlight?
There was a very comprehensive item 4.1 on HR needs analysis, which was a very good report. I'll have something to say on another matter, but I'll open it up to the council. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McLaren. Councillors, you have the report, Economic Development Visitations Committee, there for you to consider. Councillor Good.
I'd just like to make a comment on 4.3, the Regional University Study Hub.
So page number, please.
Page number 285.
Thank you.
This is something that I raised with council before I was on council. I think it's an excellent idea. We do have many people studying in Temora distance, and I've had, well, in the last 10 years, I've had 5 different people studying various degrees, and something like this I think would be very, very beneficial. It would provide resources for people studying where they can't attend on campus, and I'd just like to commend to Craig for proceeding with this.
Thank you, Councillor Good. Go to Councillor McLaren.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. On the same item, I kind of feel that the country university centres started in Cooma at a time when the technology hadn't got to the level where it is now. And I think that spending 12 to 15,000 on a management report is a lot of money. That's our annual donations budget. And I think that the library has been enhanced so much over the previous years that I would like to see the library be more of a centre for studying options for all people, not just university students, for, you know, TAFE students or high school students to use. I think that technology has advanced so much that you can do your online exam, get all your lectures over your own personal computer in your own private space on demand. And I think the need to go to a single centre I think time has gone past that stage. And I also feel that the country university centres operate on a model where they have a parent body, and then if you want to have a country university centre in your town, you have your own body and you have your own board of directors made of community representatives, and the funding that's being applied for is only seed funding and would only cover operational expenses for the first initial phase. So I'm concerned about an ongoing cost of such a centre. I think it probably does work well in Cooma and perhaps some other more isolated centres, but I think with our proximity to Wagga, I'd be more in favour of saving the money and enhancing our library. And yeah, I'd just be a bit cautious because I just feel that I haven't seen an obvious demand from the community I just don't think that it's quite warranted when we've advanced so much in technology.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor McLaren. So therefore, effectively, you're not supportive of the recommendation from the committee on the bottom page 285. So, sorry, Councillor Irvine, can I just go back to clarify Councillor McLaren? Thank you. Councillor McLaren.
No, I think that if the TAFE would like to pursue some option in this space, I think that's very much in their court. I think we could facilitate discussions, but I think that we shouldn't be putting our money into doing a report which I feel is quite expensive.
Thank you. Would you like to, are you moving a motion in relation to 4.3?
I'd like to move a motion for 4.3 that we note the report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I will accept that. Second, Councillor Reinhold. So we're just talking about 4.3 Regional University Hub. So I'm going to go to Councillor Irvine.
I'd just like to make comment in regards to that. My daughter completed a university degree during COVID and didn't attend university once over that period and still gained successful qualifications. It wasn't a super high-end qualification in medicine or something like that, but it was still the process. And fundamentally, this day and age, most of it's being prepared to be delivered online. And if you can access reasonable internet services, then you can pretty well do it from anywhere. So that was just an observation. I think COVID's brought a lot of that forward, and people have got a lot of those facilities at home, and trying to sort of centralise it, it's a bit like the CTC where all the computers got put there. By the time it got put in place, it was outdated and it really got very little use.
Thank you, Councillor Irvine. I go to Councillor Good.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I think yes, I agree that there are that the the university courses you can do online now have progressed, but I don't think this centre is just to sit there and go through your work. It's got various benefits. One of them is camaraderie. You're there. You're with other people who are studying. So when you surround yourself with people who are studying, you're more likely to get in and do things. Whereas if your other friends are out playing sport or going to the pub or something like that, you can sometimes struggle to get that time. So if you know that other people are doing it, you sort of can sometimes get support from those people. Secondly, that when you're doing a university course, it's not just about listening to the lecture or reading the book or doing the assignment. Sometimes you need to talk to someone about how exactly you need to do it or how you should structure an assignment or what exactly is a person asking for when in a question. And so having a centre like this, particularly if there's someone there to support them, can be a great benefit of people who are stuck on certain things. Thirdly, there's a section of our community who can't afford a lot of the equipment you need. It's amazing how many people I see don't have a printer. Just simple stuff like that. Whereas if they go to a central place, they can get some decent internet speed, they can have that sort of equipment. It just helps them do what they need to do to get through their course. And also, it's amazing how many people can't find a quiet place at their house. Because if they've got siblings and there's noise and running and telly and all sorts of things, sometimes you just want a quiet space where you can sit down and study. And I see this as an area where you could do that. You know that if you go there, other people there are studying, you can sit down, you can concentrate, and you can get your work done rather than being distracted.
Thanks very much, Councillor Good. Councillor McLaren, very briefly.
Just very briefly, I do agree with those last few comments on the space and the need to go somewhere central to print off and things, but I would see that there's a great potential to add to our library facilities in that space for all students and people who want to learn. So that's where I'm coming from. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor McLaren. Councillor Oliver, discussion on the motion to note the report on relation to 4.3.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. I support Councillor McLaren's views on this and also Councillor Irvine's. Modern technology allows for such things to happen remotely. And, I mean, $12,000 to $15,000 is a lot of money, and I don't know that the ratepayer should be picking up the tab for somebody's education. So I support Councillor McLaren.
Thank you, Councillor Oliver. The Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair.
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. Yeah, I can see valid points in both sides of the story here. I guess the motion that Councillor McLaren put up is to note the report. I don't sort of, while I think I'm supporting what the Councillor is saying, I think it needs to perhaps be a more positive motion in that perhaps it needs to be looked at what
other options
our library and TAFE can offer in that space rather than just just say no to report.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor. Councillor McLaren, in relation to the motion.
I take that on board, and I agree that maybe the motion should be that council receive a report on future enhancements at the library that may
encompass
facilities like CUC, like those sort of facilities.
Thank you, Councillor McLaren. So amending that as a second, happy? Okay, thank you. So can we capture that, please? And then I'm going to go, I'll go to Councillor Good when we capture that.
Sorry, noting.
Pardon?
Let's do noting the front part, then adding.
So noting it and further. So just get this right, Councillor McLaren and Councillor Reinhold, just so then we'll go to Councillor Good and Councillor Bushell.
Sorry, can you?
Councillor McLaren. So the council consider alterations to the Temora library.
To facilitate tertiary studies.
Yeah, that's it. So seconder, happy with that? Councillor Reinhold? Thank you, that's great. Thank you, so we've got that. We'll go to Councillor Good.
I've
Thank
just
you.
got a quick comment about the library. It's only open limited hours, and if you're working, you'd have no chance of getting there.
Thank you, Councillor Good. Unless it alterations at the Temora Library or other facilities, perhaps. But anyway, Councillor Bushell, discussion on the motion.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I kind of feel like the last paragraph of the whole report is pretty much the same as the motion. So I'm quietly confused as to how the motion's going to achieve anything when it's pretty much in the report.
Well, I suppose that it's not going to cost the way I'm reading it, Councillor Bushell.
So I see that the person who's written the report is seeking permission to get someone to identify the case. Yes?
At a cost of between 12 and 15,000.
But now we're saying we do want to investigate that. So who's going to investigate that?
Well, I assumed, and we shouldn't assume, but it was internal. But Councillor, can you turn? Thank you, Councillor McLaren.
I would say that would be done internally in consultation with the librarian.
Yeah, well, that's what I thought. But thank you for clarifying that. So, Councillor Bushell, you're just trying to tease out clarity on that point.
Yeah, so when does the Stream 2 applications,
So,
when do those rounds occur? Do the staff have enough time? Can they schedule it? Like, I see that the staff are possibly putting this idea forward because they can't possibly fit it into their work environment due to constraints, and that's why they're going elsewhere. That's what I'm reading the report as.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Bushell. Councillor McLaren, just to clarity.
I was intending to not apply for that stream to build a CUC and just to enhance the library with grants, etc., to create additional space to assist people to study at the library.
Thank you. I'm now going to go to the General Manager to comment on the motion that's before us. Thank you, the General Manager.
Yes, through you, Mr Mayor. I would be suggesting we do not have the resources to proceed with the funding application if we didn't bring a consultant in to assist with this particular business case. We've considered the time that we have available and resources and our ability to deliver within the timeframes, and don't believe we could achieve it without the assistance for this. And for clarity, it is applying what is being put forward is applying for funding for a regional university study hub, which is not the same as a country university. So it is potentially a different model. And by undertaking a business case, you explore the different models that exist that would work specifically for Temora Shire. And it was proposing to include reference to 2 sites, which was NRCC House, so at the rear of the library area is one of those sites, as well as the TAFE Temora campus as well. So just for clarity, that if we didn't proceed with engaging a consultant to do this business case work, I don't believe we would have a possibility of applying for that funding.
Thank you. Thank you. So we have a motion, councillors, before you in relation to 4.3 Regional University Study Hub that Councillor McLaren, Councillor Reinhold has moved. That Council note the Regional University Study Hub report, and further the Council consider alterations to the Temora Library to facilitate tertiary studies. So, there being no further discussion, I'm going to put that motion again just in relation to 4.3. All those of that opinion, please raise your hands. To the contrary, no. I declare the motion carried. Thank you. So the remainder of the Economic Development Visitations Committee report and recommendations, someone prepared to move that way? Thank you, Councillor Irvine. Seconded, Councillor Bushell. Moved, seconded. Discussion, further discussion, Councillor Bushell.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So as it was a direction that we adopted in our delivery plan many moons ago, so does that now drop off our delivery plan in future, or how does that work?
Thank you, Councillor Bushell. The General Manager. 285. So the General Manager.
Through you, Mr Mayor, I would be recommending that we say that due to resolution of council that no longer be pursued as part of our direction.
And it does say just investigate, yeah. Thank you. Where are we up to? Have I put no further discussion on the adoption of the remainder of the reports and recommendations for assets for economic development visitations? If not, I'll put the motion to. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. I thank you very much. Now, let's go to page 304, the minutes of the Aerodrome Users Committee, and Councillor Judd delegated the chairmanship to Councillor Oliver. Councillor Oliver.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to move that the minutes or the report be adopted.
Received.
Not adopted, received.
Thank you. Councillor Oliver is moving that the Aerodrome Users Committee report minutes be received. Seconded, Councillor Judd. Thank you. Moved and seconded. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Does Councillor Judd or Councillor Oliver have anything they wish to highlight out of the report? Councillor Oliver?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just that this aerodrome manual is a work in progress and it's not complete yet. I understand Mr Mike Cleaver is helping the engineer with some of the technical stuff in it, and believe me, it is technical. I don't pretend to understand too much that's in there, but yes, just to let everyone know that it's still a work in progress. So,
No, thanks. Thanks very much, Councillor Oliver. Councillor Judd, do you have anything to add? Thank you. Well, councillors, you have the Aerodrome Users Committee report and recommendations. Is someone prepared to move they be adopted, or is there an alternate? Councillor Bushell, moving that way. Thank you. Seconder, Deputy Mayor, thank you. Moved and seconded. No further discussion. Not, I'll put the motion to. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you. Right, so that's one half down. You're doing very well. Let's go to page 425. The 10.1, the Mayor's report for the month of October, and there's a recommendation at the bottom of 428 that the Mayor's report is noted. I beg your pardon. Before we go to 425, I thank the General Manager. We go to page 424, Delegates' Reports. Let's go to the Delegates' Reports. If councillors have any Delegates' Reports, I go to Councillor Reinhold.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Okay. On Sunday the 12th of November, I represented council at the Young Regional Conservatorium final concert for 23 and presentation of awards. It was a fabulous afternoon, and we should congratulate Taz Rundle. He won the Temora Community Award for the band. Sten Christmas won the Temora Town Band Perpetual Award, and Sarah Bruner won the Temora Shire Council Music Scholarship. It was a great afternoon, and Temora was well represented in the awards and also participated with several of the students performing on the afternoon. The afternoon concluded with the regional combined choir with a lot of familiar Temora faces. It was a fantastic afternoon. Okay, then the TBEG had their AGM on the 9th, and we have a new president, Nicola Curry. And I just wanted to let council know the T-Bucks, you know, little cards that we have out in the community, $308,000 total load so far.
That's unreal.
So
Since inception.
yes.
Yeah, that's
yes.
great. That is terrific.
Let me see. And then on Friday the 17th, I went to the opening of the Bald Archies at the Bondwara Centre, and it's been going for 27 years. So fantastic. Should go and have a look.
Yeah. Thanks very much, Councillor Rowland, and thank you for making yourself available to represent us at those functions. And it's great to see our inaugural scholarship at the Conservatorium of Music was also presented, and we hope that continues long into the future. So thank you. Further delegates' reports. Councillor Oliver.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. Last Wednesday evening, I attended the Springdale Progress Association meeting, and everything's going quite well out there. They've had a very successful fundraising that coincided with the Regency Ramblers event. They were lucky enough to get some meat donated by the feedlot out there, which helped them with achieving more of a profit, if you want to use that word. I've got to give it to them. There's only a few of them, about 4, and they really have a crack out there. They get off their backsides to help themselves and raise money. So you know, I think it's really good that we've still got these smaller communities, you know, helping themselves. So, thank you, Mr Mayor. That's all.
Thanks, Councillor Oliver. You're spot on. The good Lord helps those that helps themselves, and so does council wherever possible. Any further delegates' reports? Obviously, the Local Government New South Wales Conference's report in the information paper. Of course, we had our country mayors. Yeah, there'll be a report next month just to highlight that, and of course, REROC had our AGM in October, and there'll be the last board meeting for the year tomorrow week in Wagga Wagga. So no further delegates reports. Councillor Oliver.
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. I just forgot I attended the Lake Centenary Committee meeting on behalf of Councillor Sinclair, who was unavailable due to harvest reasons. Everything's going all right there. They're looking forward to getting their bridge for their walkway in place, particularly in the. They're also tuned into the same fellow I get my weather forecast from, and they too want it done before the big floods come in between 26 and 2029. So I don't know whether we can. Well, I think we should be able to achieve that. So, but yeah, that was all. Everything else is going all right. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Oliver, and I understand that it's in good hands, the bridge. Is that right, Mr Engineer?
What I know is a significant grant expires on the 30th of June. So, yeah, I'm not sure what's going to happen there yet, but yeah, one way or another, something's going to happen.
That's right, because we're not going to lose the money. No, we won't be losing the money, and the bridge will be erected sooner or later.
Yeah. Just through you, Mr Chairman, I think if I'm honest, we might just have a chat to the funding authority just to see what the chances of an extension are. But if that's not possible, we'll be looking to try and install in some way. So we'll see how we go.
Thank you. No further delegates' reports. If not, now we go to page 425, the Mayor's report for the month of October 10.1. The Mayor's recommendation on page 428 that the Mayor's report is noted. Thank you. Councillor Good has moved the recommendation. Thank you, Councillor Bushell. Moved, seconded, discussion. There's no discussion. I'll put the motion. All those of that opinion, please say aye. The contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you. Page 429, staff reports. Motion to receive staff reports. Councillor Reinhold, thank you. Councillor Good, moved, seconded. All those of that opinion, please say aye. The contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. We go over to page 430, the General Manager's report, 12.1, calendar of events. The General Manager.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. You'll see that there are quite a few events coming up in December as we lead into the Christmas period, and in particular just to note that the Council Administration Office will be closed between the 25th of December and the 1st of January.
Thank you, Madam General Manager, and also just to remind councillors that haven't RSVP'd yet, the closing date to RSVP for the Councillors' Christmas dinner on the 7th of December is tomorrow. If you could let the Executive Assistant, Mrs Rands, know by the end of tomorrow, that would be great. Thank you. Any comments on the calendar of events? If not, there's a recommendation for you to consider that the calendar of events be noted. Thank you, Councillor Good has moved that way. Seconder for the motion, Deputy Mayor Councillor Sinclair. Thank you. Moved. Seconded. No discussion. I'll put the motion. All those with that opinion, please say aye. The contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you. 431. 12.2, the seals. General Manager.
I'll defer to the Director of Administration and Finance in relation to these seals.
Thank you. The Director.
Through you, Mr Mayor. So there's two documents which the seal has been affixed to. The first one is the Regional and Local Roads Repair Program funding deed. It's a deed of variation, so I believe Council's aware. We received $2.4 million in the last financial year, and now the government has announced a further $3 million. So they've just varied the existing agreement rather than establishing a new one. And the second one is a renewal of the deed of agreement for the Community Recycling Centre, the CRC.
Thank you, Madam Director. Councillor Good. Thank you. You move the recommendation that Council endorse the seals being affixed to the above documents. Thank you. Seconded, Councillor Bushell. Moved, seconded, discussion. There's no further discussion. I'll put the motion to you. All those of that opinion, please say aye. For the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you. Now, 432, 12.3, the alcohol-free zone, the General Manager.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Through you, Mr Mayor, we have not received any submissions when the alcohol-free zones were out on exhibition, and so we are recommending that we proceed with putting them in place for a period of 4 more years. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam General Manager. Councillor Bushell.
I'd just like to move the recommendation.
Thank you. Councillor Bushell is moving the recommendation. Is there a second? Councillor McLaren. Thank you. Moved. Seconded. Discussion. Just in discussion, councillors, I do know that the police think that these alcohol-free zones that council instituted some years ago now are most helpful for them, which I think is an important reminder for us to hear that it certainly proves useful for them. So there's no further discussion. I'll put the motion. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. Anything of an urgent, late nature from the General Manager?
Through you, Mr Mayor, no.
Thank you very much. Page 434, the Engineering Services Department report. 13.1, Transport for New South Wales Speed Zone Review, Goldfields Way. The Engineering Assets Manager.
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. Report is as written, and I'm happy to answer questions.
Thank you. Just a reminder to councillors, I'm sure you're aware, but for those listening, that this particular report isn't a decision of council. This is one obviously brought on by the Transport for New South Wales. Just a reminder. Councillor Bushell.
I'd just like to remove the recommendation.
Thank you. Councillor Bushell is moving the recommendation, page 435, that council receive and note the report. Is there a second? Councillor Good. Thank you. Moved. Seconded. Discussion. Councillor McLaren.
Do they want a response from council regarding the decision as part of this meeting outcome?
Thanks, Councillor McLaren. The Engineering Assets Manager.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Oh, listen, I don't think so. I think it was just, it was really it was notification out of courtesy, really. Yeah.
Thank you. I know, look, councillors, we've got to be prepared. We're going to obviously cop some flack on this, but at the end of the day, it's a decision of Transport for New South Wales. So no further discussion on the motion. I'll put it. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. Anything of an urgent, late nature from the Engineering Assets Manager?
No, Mr Mayor.
Thank you very much. Let's proceed, councillors, to page 436, the Environmental Services Department report, 14.1, Development Application, and I go to the Director.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. DA 51 2023, we're tabling the planning report, which was prepared by an independent third-party consultant in accordance with council-related development policy. A lot of the preliminary pre-assessment work and the consultation phase was carried out by the town planner, who handed over the findings from that consultation along with the details of the application to a company called DA Busters, who have prepared a very extensive planning report, and the recommendations are on, there's 5 or 6 pages of them, commencing on page 470, I think, so, for council's decision.
Thank you, Mr Director. Councillors, you have the development application in front of you. To consider, I go to Councillor Judd.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. A few points. On page 437, mentions the upgrading of Tom Moon Avenue, including widening, provision and curb and guttering, and also mentions other places where they're removing all the trees. Well, this is probably the first time it's really been mentioned, and I'd like to know a bit more about it. Who's going to be paying for all this? And that's our public road at the moment, so
Yeah.
got to get an answer to that one, please.
Thank you, Councillor Judd. I refer to the Director just to clarify. Thank you.
That will be at cost to the developer, particularly on the side of the development site. The northern side, might refer that to the engineering works manager.
The Engineering Assets Manager.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Yeah, certainly the cost on the opposite side of the road will be up to council if it was to go ahead. It has been mentioned before. I can't pinpoint exactly where or when, but I can find that out. That's all I've got to add.
Thank you, Mr Manager. Councillor Judd.
Next query is also to do with Tom Moon Avenue. Is do I assume that the blocks that butt up against Tom Moon Avenue will all have access onto Tom Moon Avenue?
Thank you, Councillor Judd. The Director.
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you, Councillor Judd.
Just seems in other developments we seem to require like a service road or something, so that we don't have so many entrances or gates going onto our main road. That's also.
Thanks very much, Councillor Judd. I now go to Councillor Irvine.
Just in comment to that, it's no different to the next street across, where all the residents have got access to that roadway, and then their hangars have access to the taxiway at the rear, and it's no different to the residents that are already in place on Tom Moon Avenue who have got access direct to Tom Moon Avenue from the front of their properties now. I don't see any real variation of what's the standard out there.
Thanks, Councillor Irvine. I go to Councillor McLaren.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I note that there's no provision for any footpaths, and although I can understand that it's not in the PAMP at the moment because I guess this development wasn't considered when the PAMP was updated, particularly the lack of a footpath down Tom Moon Avenue. When I've been to events out there, it's quite common for people just to walk down the roadway, and I think there's going to be a considerable more amount of traffic on that road, and I feel that a footpath is essential, really, to facilitate the pedestrian access down Tom Moon Avenue, especially with the extra traffic. I just think it's discriminatory almost against people in wheelchairs and people with prams who have to travel on the road. And I think for a safety issue, there should be a footpath at least down Tom Moon Avenue, and if not, both. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor McLaren. I go to Councillor Bushell.
I just want to clarify, we only have one comment, correct?
Well, look, ideally that's what we're trying to work on, Councillor Bushell, wherever possible. I know DA's, it's a bit trickier, but
Okay,
Councillor Bushell.
I just wanted to, thank you, Mr Mayor. I wanted to make the question regarding a footpath. Where would it start and where would it end? Because I'd hate to see us put a footpath where we have before, and then the request is that we need to link it to somewhere. So that's my concern, that there's no linkage out there, and how that would work.
Yeah, thank you very much, Councillor Bush. I don't know whether the Director has any comments on Councillor McLaren or Councillor Bush's comments.
Yeah, just with regard to the footpath, I guess we've just been consistent with what happens on 10 FTS Street. It's got the caravan park, the Aero Club, and probably arguably similar amounts of traffic, but yeah, that's quite within Council's prerogative to request that.
Thank you very much. Councillor McLaren.
Can I add that to a request that they put a footpath?
So would you like to move the recommendation with the inclusion of
Yeah,
that?
I would like to make the inclusion of a footpath down Tom Moon Avenue, please.
Thank you. So you're moving that way. Seconder for the motion, please. Thank you, Councillor Good. Moved, seconded. Discussion on the motion. Councillor Bushell.
I think, Mr Mayor, I still don't feel like I've had my question answered.
Sorry, Councillor Bushell. So, Mr. Manager.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I guess it depends on how you view the cycleway. Lots of people walk on the cycleway on Airport Road. It definitely, I guess, does link to the museum as well. But yeah, we certainly don't go down the path of, I heard the other road mentioned. If we, well, I guess we work on a hierarchical structure and connectivity. And I don't see it that we'll be probably putting footpaths down cul-de-sac streets and things like that into the future, because we just physically won't, one, we won't be able to afford it, and two, we'll never get it rolled out everywhere.
Thank you. Councillor Bushell.
I just have one concern. Like, if there's going to be, thank you, Mr Mayor, if there's going to be driveways, like if we make them do the footpath for, like, part of the development, we're going to have issues of up and down. We're going to have issues of people going out with their mobility scooters because they can go out the cycleway all the way, and there's going to be driveways interrupting that footpath up and down, up and down. We're going to receive trip hazard requests as we have done in the past. So I don't know how you can sort of enforce it on the development and then the people who purchase the site then put a driveway in, and then it conflicts the infrastructure.
Thank you very much, Councillor Bushell. The Director.
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. Yeah, it certainly does increase the degree of difficulty, and ideally the footpath should be done at the end of all the development. So perhaps we could take some kind of bond off your monetary amount that we could, after all the driveways are put in, what's left, we could link it up then. But yeah, it would be difficult to put that in first, and a bit of a waste, to be honest.
Thank you very much. Just for clarity, Councillor McLaren and Councillor Good, so in relation to the motion that's before us, that approve the DA in accordance with the conditions provided within the assessment report, and further that a footpath is included down Tom Moon Avenue. Am I right in assuming that that is at the developer's expense? Yeah. Okay, thank you. That correct, Mr. Director?
It's up to council. It's not one of our recommendations. So.
Okay, so we probably needed that added. Yeah. So the mover and second are happy. Thank you. The engineering assets manager.
Yeah, probably just after some clarity on that. Generally speaking, when we ask a developer to put footpath in, it's to the development boundary, and this boundary actually extends. To put a footpath in to complete it, it'll take up some of the museum's land as well. And then in that scenario, council will put in half and then charge the landowner the other half. That's how it's always been done.
Thank you. I'll just, Councillor Irvine, if I may, I'll just go to Councillor McLaren just to seek clarity.
So are you recommending that the developer put in 50% of the cost of the footpath?
The manager.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Now, I'm recommending that if you're asking the developer to build the footpath, he builds it on his development frontage, and then the council and the adjacent landowner will have to front up the cost for the remainder that goes from the development boundary down to the museum.
Okay. Thank you. So, Councillor McLaren and Councillor Good, we've got to, then you want to amend, so you're happy at the developer's expense?
Yes, it'll only go to the edge of the development.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. And you're happy, Councillor Good. Thank you very much. Councillor Irvine.
Question to the Director. In regards to the Code B taxiway marked out in blue on page 439, that's at the cost of the developer as well, I'm assuming?
Thank you, Councillor Irvine. We'll go to the Director of Environmental Services.
Defer to the town planner on that one.
Thank you. The Town Planner, you have the call.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So the Code B taxiway that's highlighted shaded pink is just clarifying that is what Councillor Irvine's referring to. So that taxiway is subject separately where council has an arrangement where that will be built separately. So this development is a deferred consent so that the development cannot be occupied and used until such time that taxiway arrangements have been made for that to be built. So it's a separate arrangement.
Thank you, Madam Town Planner. Thank you, Councillor Irvine. Councillors, you have a recommendation there on your screens to consider. There's no further discussion. And winding up, Councillor McLaren.
Yep, page 475, just with the street tree selection. It's got tree of a native species approved by council. I'm wondering if we could just have that selected from council's street tree policy, which I think includes a list of varieties.
Thanks, Councillor McLaren. So the Director, happy to include?
No objections.
Thank you. Councillor Judd.
Just had a query on the stormwater, page 465, the issue that was raised. The applicant seems to think that having stormwater drains for 1 to 5 year storms is good enough. And whereas look into the Erie Park flood study at the moment and they seem to having got to be 1 to 100 year stormwater. So I can't see why it seems to be taking a cheap option on this one and worrying about a big storm if it does hit the area.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Judd. Yes, it's just that inconsistent language, isn't it? The Director?
I think it's pretty standard for that level of storm infrastructure to be the guiding guiding standard for most developments.
Thank you, Mr Director. Nothing further, Councillor Judd. Thank you. Well, there's no further discussion on the motion. Councillor Bushell?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'm still nervous with the current resolution. Is that going to be a condition of consent, or what is the recommendation going to?
Thank you, Councillor Bushell. My understanding, whether it's just part of the condition of consent. That was my understanding, but I'll defer.
Yeah,
to the
if it's adopted by council, it becomes an additional condition of consent.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Councillor Bushell. So to wind up, Councillor Irvine.
There's some more discussion regarding the detention basin and stormwater flows on page 464. That seems to indicate that the detention basin deals with a 1%. So I think that's a 1 in 100. Is that correct?
That's right.
Thank you, Councillor
So
Irvine.
that may allay Councillor Judd's fears in relation to the 1 in 5 application, from what I understand they're saying there.
Thanks, Councillor Irvine. Well, councillors, we've had very good discussion, as we should, on the motion. I'll remind you of that resolution that's before us. On the motion of Councillor... Yes, thank you. On the motion of Councillor McLaren and Councillor Good, that Council approve the development application in accordance with the conditions provided within the assessment report, and further that a footpath is included down Tom Moon Avenue at the developer's expense. And of course, being a development application, we'll need you to show your hands in relation to how you choose to vote. So I'm going to now put the motion to you. All those of that opinion, please raise your hands. I declare the motion carried unanimously. And thank you very much for that, councillors. And thank you, Mr Director and Madam Town Planner, and all of our team that have been part of the process to date. Nothing of a urgent late nature from the Director?
No, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Let's now go to page 478, the Department of Administration Finance Report 15.1, the audited financial statements. The Director.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So the financial statements was presented by the auditor earlier. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Madam Director. Councillors, you've heard from the auditor, you've read the reports. I go to Councillor McLaren.
Just a question about that own source ratio. Is there any way we could lobby the government to provide a benchmark for rural councils to have a benchmark that's realistic for us? Because clearly we don't have a user pays revenue base like Bondi or whatever with parking and those sorts of revenue raising activities. But so we're always going to fail. And it just concerns me, that's all, that maybe they could have 2 tiers.
Thanks, Councillor McLaren. The Director, do you have a comment in response? Bless you, whoever that was.
Yeah, through you, Mr Mayor. You could try. I know some of the other ratios do have a distinction between rural and metro councils. So the issue with us is too that we do have such a high level of grant funding and then in conjunction with low capacity to generate other income.
Thank you. Councillors, you see the report there. There is a recommendation for Council to consider that we receive and note the financial statements and audit reports for the year ending 30 June 2023. Councillor Oliver.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. I'll move the report.
Thank you. Move the recommendation, page 478. Second for the motion, the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair. Thank you. Discussion. There's no further discussion. We'll put the motion. All those of that opinion, please say aye. The contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you. And again, our warm congratulations to you, Madam Director, and your team in relation to the presentation of those statements. And we know that there's a heck of a lot of work involved, but Council are deeply grateful. Thank you. Councillors, we go over to page 498, 15.2, Quarterly Budget Review, the Director.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So the report's as written. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Councillors, you have the Quarterly Budget Review for you to consider. Just on page 503, I might ask the Engineering Assets Manager just to clarify, if I may, the airport caravan park fencing, just that that $6,900 over budget, or that's how it's worded. The Manager, can you clarify, please?
I can try. Yeah, thanks through you, Mr Mayor. So I guess my biggest explanation would be, one, it was probably revoted, handed over a year, and then secondly, you know, I guess when we allocated this within the budget, it was an estimate based on what we thought the install of the bollards might cost. The bollards were purchased separately. This was the labour and install materials only, and it just happened to cost more than was first anticipated. And you don't find out until after the fact is the other part. You go and install and then all your costs come in. So you're very hard to hit a moving target. And Alex's bloke's done it. There you go.
Unbelievable. Anyway, look, thank you, Mr Manager. It's appropriate, obviously, that we ask, and I hope you're listening, the Works Engineering Manager.
No, listen, it wouldn't have mattered if it was Alex's blokes or my bloke. Yeah. Short story is it cost more than we thought it was going to cost.
Indeed, thank you, but I think overall we're very good at not having overruns. Anything further, councillors, in the quarterly budget review? If not, there is a recommendation there for council to consider on page 498 that council adopt the quarterly budget review for quarter ending 30 September 2023. Councillor Oliver, Councillor Good, thank you. Moved and seconded. Discussion. There's no further discussion. I'll put the motion to you. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. I declare the motion carried. And again, thank the Director most sincerely. Nothing of an urgent late nature, Madam Director?
No, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Now, let's go to page 511. Correspondence 16.1, Music in the Regions, the General Manager.
Thank you. Through you, Mr Mayor, I think the correspondence we received in relation to this is pretty self-explanatory. In terms of the donations for the year, we have a total budget of $15,000. The donations so far are just over the $5,000 mark, and there is $9,500 budget remaining in that donations budget.
Thank you, Madam General Manager. I go to Councillor Reinhold.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Because it's using the Town Hall Theatre and it's music in the regions, I was wondering if we put this through the Imagine budget, since we've got quite a lot of money sitting there that's sole purpose is for the Town Hall.
Thank you, Councillor Reinhold. Whilst the General Manager and Director of Administration and Finance are discussing that, I just thought I'd let Council know that I actually rang Mr Whitney the other day, the General Manager of Music in the Region, a delightful gentleman, and I just wanted to learn a little bit more, but also I asked him, would the event still proceed if Council weren't in a position to assist, worst case? And he said, well, of course, you know, we would continue it, which he was just so candid, and I'm just so grateful to him for his candour, that he said, of course it would proceed regardless, but he said that no harm in asking, and I agree entirely with that principle. Councillor Reinhold.
Yes, I went to the one last year up at Platform Y, and it was just fantastic. So I'm just there to encourage it, if, help in any way we can.
Thanks, Councillor Reinhold. We'll go to the General Manager.
Through you, Mr Mayor, with the Imagine budget, that is usually used for subcommittees of Imagine. So there's nothing stopping the council to resolve that way, but that is not the usual use of that particular budget.
Thank you, Councillor Reinhold. We'll go to the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. When I first looked at this, I was humming hard about whether we should support it or to what amount. But then in their letter, about halfway down, they're saying that they will send their team to the musicians to Temora West Public School, Area Park Central School and St Anne's School. So it's just not about them being here and doing a concert. They're actually helping the schools out with their music and so forth, and teaching their students and so forth. So I think I'm supporting the $500 like we have done in the past. Well, I think $500 anyway.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor. So Councillor, well, I don't think that was a motion, Mr Deputy Mayor. No. So Councillor Reinhold, did you have one in mind?
Well, yes. We can't do it through Imagine.
Councillor Reinhold, thank you.
If we can't do it through Imagine, then take it out of our budget, please. Thank you.
Thank you. So you're suggesting the donations budget of up to $500 that we donate to Music in the Regions for the Temora Shire events.
Yes.
Thank you. Seconded, the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair. Thank you. Moved. Seconded. Discussion, Councillor Bushell.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just hopefully we can reply back with as much enthusiasm as what they've written in their letter. There's many big words and elaboration, please.
Thanks. Thank you, Councillor Bushell. And you're quite right. And again, talking with Mr Whitney, it was just a real pleasure. His enthusiasm is most infectious, and he thinks Temora Shire is certainly a great place for his team ensemble to perform. Councillor Oliver, discussion on the motion.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. The Imagine budget, do we use all of that every year, or is it? I mean, it's robbing Peter to pay Paul, basically, isn't it? I suppose. So, thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Oliver. The Director of Administration and Finance.
Through you, Mr Mayor, we definitely haven't used it all in recent years. Yeah, in the last probably 5 years, haven't used it.
Well, maybe. So the mover and seconder, before I put the motion, do you wish to amend the motion, or is it as is?
Well, thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like
Councillor
to
Oliver?
move an amendment that we use the money from the Imagine budget.
Well, thank you, Councillor Oliver. I was just wondering, though, whether Councillor Reinhold or the Deputy Mayor wanted to amend their motion. Otherwise, I'll accept your amendment. So the mover and seconder are happy take it out of the Imagine Temora, just leaves more money in the donations budget for other activities. Yeah. Okay. Councillor Reinhold.
And maybe they could be put through as performing, the Temora Arts Council, performing arts. Maybe they could write to them and say, could we, no.
Thank you, Councillor Reinhold. So the mover and second are happy. I'm going to put the motion. All those of that opinion, please say aye. The contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. Councillors, over to page 514, 6.2, Murrumbidgee Local Health District. I'm declaring an interest as Chairman of the Temora LHAC, and I'll vacate the chamber and call on the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair, to preside.
Councillor on 16.4 Murrumbidgee Local Health District Excellence Awards, moving for sponsorship. It's all pretty straightforward. Questions or comments, please? Councillor Oliver.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor. I'm happy to support this. These people do a magnificent job, and besides that, we've got $500 to spare. So, thank you, Mr Deputy.
Thank you. Yes. Okay. I just wanted to say that this year's winner was Rebecca Stimson, Temora lady. So it's nice that we're acknowledged in the Murrumbidgee Local Health Awards.
Okay, we have a mover and seconder. Oh. Well, Councillor Bush will second the motion, so further discussion? No further discussion, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Aye. Those against? Motion carried. Thank you.
Just to clarify, you're suggesting a $500 sponsorship amount this year again? Yep.
But yeah, everyone happy with that, 500? Yeah.
Now, you're right, Mr Deputy Mayor.
Oh, just to inform you that Council just moved to allocate $500 towards the awards.
Thanks, Mr Deputy Mayor, and thank you, Council. Councillors, we go over to page 518, 16.3, Bright Beginnings Christmas Party, the General Manager.
Through you, Mr Mayor, this is seeking approval for use of Gloucester Park on the Sunday the 17th of December. There are no financial implications for this request.
Thank you, Madam General Manager. Councillor Good.
I move the recommendation.
Thank you. So Councillor Good's moving that Council grant approval for the use of Gloucester Park on Sunday the 17th of December this year for the Bright Beginnings Christmas Party. Second, Councillor Bushell. Thank you. Moved. Second, discussion. There's no further discussion. I'll put the motion. All those of that appear. So, Councillor Bushell, you look like you've got something cheeky to say. Moving right along. I'm still scarred, literally, Councillor Bushell. Yeah. If there's no serious further discussion, I'll put the motion. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. I declare the motion carried. Let's go to page 519, 16.4, Sacred Heart Parish, the General Manager.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Through you, this is a request for use of Callaghan Park and also for assistance financially towards a hire of the mobile stage for the annual Christmas Eve Mass on the 24th of December.
Thank you, Madam General Manager. Councillor McLaren.
I move that we accede to their request out of the donations budget.
Thank you. Councillor McLaren has moved that we accede to the request and donate those high fees back. Is there a seconder for the motion, please? Thank you, Councillor Good. Moved, seconded, discussion. I'm not looking that way anymore. No further discussion. I'll put the motion. All those of that opinion, please say aye. The contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you. Any late urgent items of correspondence, Madam General Manager?
Through you, Mr Mayor, no there isn't. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Councillors, we go to page 521, business with notice, which is nil. We go over to page 522, a notice of motion. We've received 18.1 from Councillor Irvine. Councillor Irvine.
Yeah, I just move a motion that reports or responses be provided by the General Manager or delegated representative in relation to the status of the progress for the Dustin Rose subdivision, the status of the progress for the Highfield subdivision, and any information regarding the cabin development at Air Park Caravan Park.
Thank you, Councillor Irvine. I will note, Councillor Irvine, that I was aware that this was on your agenda, Madam General Manager, to happen as a matter of course, Councillor Irvine. But if you're moving that motion still in light of that, do you still wish to move? Okay, thank you. Seconder for the motion, Councillor McLaren. Moved and seconded. Discussion. Discussion on the motion, Councillor Irvine.
It's very encouraging to see that Dustin Rose looks, from all intents and purposes, to be very close to being ready for sale and to start to alleviate some of the shortage of good developable building blocks. There's obviously some interest in the Highfield subdivision as well, and it'd be interesting just to get an update on where that's up to. And the third item is in relation to an article that was in the newspaper recently, but that seems to have been addressed by some correspondence by the General Manager today, or actually yesterday. So we're up to speed with that.
So would you like to withdraw number 3, Councillor Irvine?
I think it could stay there, but there may be some of this response included in the minutes to address that.
Okay, thank you. So you would like to see number 3 left in. Councillor McLaren, you're happy? Okay, thank you. Further discussion on the motion? If there's no further discussion on the motion, and Councillor Irvine and Councillor McLaren, I'm assuming that you, because you haven't got a response time and date, that it will just be as soon as practicable, is suitable? Yeah, thank you. No further discussion. So the General Manager, you didn't have any comments, General Manager?
Through you, Mr Mayor, I will not be able to add the correspondence that was sent to councillors yesterday to the minutes of this meeting. If the request remains the way it is, it'll have to come back through a report, or council be satisfied with the response that was already received yesterday. So it's business, like the correspondence that was sent was outside of this process of the council meeting.
Thank you very much. Councillors, you have a motion before you, and I'm going to put it. All those of that opinion, please say aye. Aye. Or please raise your hands, all those of that opinion. To the contrary, I declare the motion carried. Thank you. And that will happen when time permits. So thank you very much. So page 524, business without notice of an urgent nature. Thank you. So councillors, we now proceed to page 525, Councillors' information paper. Someone move that the information paper be received. Thank you, Councillor Good. Councillor McLaren moved and seconded. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. Council, you see various items in the information paper, the LGNSW annual conference report, amongst other regulatory control reports, etc. Councillors, anything you wish to highlight? I think what was really, really special, and they seem to stand out, which is, I think, means a heck of a lot to all of us, and that is on page 559, the email that Council received from a couple who hail from Bathurst, just praising various aspects of Temora Shire in terms of the presentation of the town, the roads, the cleanliness, public venues, and the people. Museums are outstanding. Anyway, I just thought that was great medicine for every single councillor, staff member and citizen to read those encouraging words. So thank you for sharing that, Madam General Manager. Councillor Reinhold.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just a request on item 20.5, the Ranger. With Christmas approaching, if we could have a little push on advising people to stick to the 2-hour parking limit in the main street, please.
Thank you, Councillor Ryan. I do acknowledge that the Ranger has been very proactive in that space, Mr Director, in recent times especially, and I'm sure that that the comments have been noted. The Director?
Yes, definitely. December's our busiest time, so we'll make sure his presence is felt.
Thank you. Councillors, any other items? If Councillor Good.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'm just disappointed with the response from Catherine King, MP, in relation to the heavy vehicle bypass. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like we're anywhere.
Thanks, Councillor Good. Well, we're certainly in discussions with Transport for New South Wales and the Minister just to get that response from them in relation to the options presented, their initial thoughts. So there's body of work being done there, so we'll be next year, obviously in the first quarter, we intend to get back on the bandwagon. But yeah, it certainly was certainly not an inspiring response, so I do acknowledge that. Councillors, if there's nothing further in the information paper, then in accordance with Section 10A of the Local Government Act 1992, I advise that there are several matters that are deemed confidential, and accordingly I require a motion to have those matters considered. So we're just go into that, and then we will have a recess for 5 minutes. In accordance with Section 10A of the Local Government Act 1993, I advise that there are several matters that are deemed confidential, and accordingly I require a motion to have those matters considered. Thank you. The Deputy Mayor, Councillor Ryan, moved and seconded. All those with that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. I declare the motion carried. Thank you. We move back into open council, and I now invite the General Manager to please advise of the motions which have been brought from closed session into open council. Thank you, the General Manager.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The confidential resolutions that we've brought into open are that the minutes of the TAIC committee held on the 9th of November 2023, it was resolved that the reports be received. It was moved by Councillor Sinclair, seconded by Councillor Good. It was resolved that the reports and recommendations as presented be adopted, moved by Councillor Good and seconded by Councillor Bushell. In relation to the minutes of the Assets and Operations Committee held on the 21st of November 2023, it was resolved that the reports be received by Councillor Sinclair and seconded by Councillor Good. It was resolved that the reports and recommendations as presented be adopted, moved by Councillor Sinclair and seconded by Councillor Bushell. In relation to the minutes of the Economic Development and Visitations Committee held on the 21st of November 2023, it was moved by Councillor McLaren that the reports be received and seconded by Councillor Good, and it was moved by Councillor Bushell that it was resolved that the reports and recommendations as presented be adopted, and seconded by Councillor Good. In relation to the General Manager's 3-month workshop, it was resolved that the General Manager's 3-month workshop outcomes report be received and noted, and further that the Mayor conveyed to the General Manager councillors' compliments in the manner in which she has carried out her functions and has noted a high satisfaction rating with her performance. That was moved by Councillor Bushell and seconded by Councillor Good. In relation to the Bundawarra Centre renaming the RFS Community Engagement Centre, it was resolved by Councillor Sinclair that Council install a suitable plaque to recognise the contribution of Steve Holden to the establishment of the RFS Community Engagement Centre at the Bundawarra Centre, and this was seconded by Councillor McLaren. In relation to the proposed rezoning at Temora West, it was resolved that Council consider the matter again once the outcome of the Regional Strategic Planning Fund grant application is known to Council, and second, if it was successful with the Regional Strategic Planning Fund grant, further report will be brought to Council identifying potentially impacted stakeholders. That was moved by Councillor Irvine and seconded by Councillor Good. In relation to planning proposal, Gallipoli Street, Hackia Street, Millvale Road and Loftus Street, Temora, it was, it was moved...
Councillor Bushell.
Councillor Bushell, that Council support the changes to the LOP as detailed in the planning proposal and submit the planning proposal to Department of Planning and Environment for gateway determination. That was seconded by Councillor Sinclair. There was an amended motion moved by Councillor Good and seconded by Councillor McLaren. It's moved that Council support the changes to the LOP as detailed in the planning proposal, provided there is 400 square metres of public open spaces on the existing lot 47 DP 1242414 and submit the planning proposal to the Department of Planning and Environment for gateway determination. The amendment was put and carried. The amendment became the motion and the motion was put and carried. In relation to the area park recreation ground lighting, it was resolved by Councillor McLaren and seconded by Councillor Good that Council note the report. In relation to the Temora Cemetery, it was moved by Councillor Bushell and seconded by Councillor Sinclair that Council note the report. In relation to Pinnacle Community Services, it was resolved that Council support option 3 as outlined in the report and a future report will be presented to Council. This was moved by Councillor Bushell and seconded by Councillor Good. In relation to the Employee Incentive Scheme nomination, it was moved by Councillor Good and seconded by Councillor Judd. It was resolved that Council endorse a Category 3 reward for the nominated employee. There was a notice of motion put forward around road construction work and MOU progress, moved by Councillor Irvine, seconded by Councillor Judd. It was resolved that reports or responses be provided by the General Manager or delegated representative in regard to, number 1, impact of road construction works to allow access to Altura site and upgrade of Court Street with regards to preferred HVAR. 2, that the status progress of the MOU relative to the development subdivision proposed for the airfield subdivision, and that was carried. It was resolved that Council moves the motions from closed into open by Councillor Rodenhold and seconded by Councillor Good. And it was moved by Councillor Sinclair and seconded by Councillor Oliver that Council moves out of the closed Council and into open at 7:44 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam General Manager. You've read those very, very well. Councillor Oliver.
Just that I noticed it said pecuniary interest when I left the room. It's a non-pecuniary. I don't get any financial gain. That can just change, please.
Is it noted as non-pecuniary?
Non-pecuniary.
Thank you. Thank you, councillors. You've heard from the General Manager the resolutions that have been brought forward from closed into open. Could I have, please, a motion to formally adopt those in open council? Councillor Good, thank you. Councillor Reinhold moved and seconded. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. There being no further business, I thank you all very, very much. You've done well to get through all of that. And I thank you and declare the meeting closed.